What up, people? So, as you know what I mean? Look, I've been saying I was going to go see Dune. I went and saw Dune. And as you know, if you listen to the room, it was a bit of a mission. But you know what I mean? I thought, what better than to talk to someone who loves this book as much as me, my good friend, swimming coach extraordinaire, which, you know, you might think, wait, you're talking about June with a swimming coach? Caladan, motherfucker. You understand? There's a synergy in this shit. You know what I mean? And motherfucker's got no rhythm because he's white, right? So it works. He walks with no rhythm. You know what I mean?
I would be very safe.
It's just he can't part a thumper in the desert. Oh shit. Woo! Okay. But yeah, we're gonna talk about June. No, all about June. Oh, fuck. Man, didn't think the spice was gonna take me out. Woo! But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, look, we had David Lynch in the 80s. We then had Sci-Fi Channel, their iteration early 2000, which I did think, right, was more in line with the book, but you could see the budget issues, right? You could see there was no budget, and some things were mad glaring, and some of the actors and the choices were very good, but when they weren't, oh shit, you're like, oh no, that person is not a good actor and they should not be in that role.
Was that the guy was that the version with the terrible gurney?
Yes.
He was like the guy from London. You young pup.
Yeah.
Was it that one?
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. It was bad. It was bad. But a young James McAvoy was older Paul Atreides.
Is that one? Because I did quite like him as Paul Atreides. I saw the sequel. I saw Children.
Yeah.
And that's better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, because they merged Children and Messiah, and it wasn't bad. I think the fact that the kids were older, you lost the impact. You know what I mean? But well, it wasn't bad. But then, man, when did we hear? It was like 2018. Was it 2018 when we heard that we were going to get a new film of Dune? I feel it was about 2018, maybe 2019. And yeah, I mean, what did you think when you were like, they're going to do it again? They're going to roll that dice again?
It's hard to be excited because I think it's such a difficult book to make into a good film. It's so dense. I love the Lynch film. I do. I know there's a lot of hate for it, but you know, if you're going to be restricted to trying to turn that into a one film story, that's going to be a hell of a mission.
Yeah, that was the thing, right? Is like, how are they going to do this? Because like one film, you either make it crazy long or you're just editing like a motherfucker. And I don't know if there's enough, like, it's not big enough for a good trilogy.
Yeah.
Like if you were going to do a trilogy, it would be having to include maybe Dune Messiah. Right, but on its own, it's not making a trilogy. So what are you gonna? How's this gonna work? And then you hear, oh, they're gonna do it in 2 parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just difficult to even imagine. I mean, there's an audio book that they managed to make dull, you know. So In my mind, I'm thinking,
But yo, that's not the audiobook on Audible though. The Audible audiobook version is outstanding.
yeah. I'm just, I mean, I think I've read the physical book probably 5 times.
Mm,
And that original audiobook, and you know the one I'm talking about.
yeah, it was so bad. It was
I
so
managed to
fucking
make a
bad.
book I love. I just wasn't interested in listening to it. Very bad.
I remember being so happy. I was like, I found all the June books, found all the audio books of June. And then we just put it, and it was just like, I'll pull the trainers, and he went into this, and it has spice. It was just like, yo, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, was it?
No,
But
it's
with the
bad.
new film, I think even like the guy that had playing Raban, I think I was really impressed at how they dealt with him.
Yeah.
I was worried about the guy. I was pretty much worried about the entire cast that I saw
Yeah.
announced. That Jason Momoa, I just thought he's too cheesy action hero to play a good Duncan, because obviously, as we know, Duncan carries on to have a much more fundamental role in the whole story. So if this became successful, I'm thinking, is he really the guy who's going to be able to carry this?
Yeah, it's weird because in June, Duncan isn't really there.
No.
You wouldn't think he's like, the way he's talked about is he's a huge character, but in this first book, he's not. We don't see him much. He does shit behind the scenes, but we don't really see Duncan. So it is a bit like, huh. But yeah, as you say, we see him later. So yeah, it's, can someone carry that? Jason Momoa looked crazy different without the beard.
He did, and I assume you saw the trailer when they had it cut of him saying, "We'll fight like demons," and I just thought Duncan doesn't really. That's not Duncan. But then
Oh yeah, no, I remember that bit in the film. But yeah,
he says it in the film, but it's not. The way they cut the trailer made it look a lot more action hero cheese than the way
okay.
that scene plays out in the film. And so even with the trailer, I was a little bit trepidatious, shall we say, because I was just like, if they're going to try and make this an all action hero Hollywood blockbuster, is it going to work? You got him, David, but is it David Bautista? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
These aren't exactly, you wouldn't associate them necessarily with great actors,
No,
again,
like I'd seen early Batista was a bit like early Rock, right?
yeah,
Early Dwayne Johnson, where can't really act. But then I think Batista in like Blade Runner 2049.
fair enough.
You could see an evolution in the acting. But then, a few months back, he was in the Zack Snyder zombie thing on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that.
The not Day of the Dead, something dead zombie Dewey Las Vegas, and not great, not great.
But that's it. I mean, that role doesn't really require him to be great.
Well, no, but they were playing on these sentimental moments and stuff like that. But the way it just didn't work, it didn't come across. So it was just like, oh, is that Dave or is that the editing? Is that like, what the fuck happened here? You know what I mean? Like the action scenes in that film were great. You know what I mean? The CGI zombie fucking tiger, that was outstanding. But yeah, these poignant moments they tried to put in there didn't quite work. So it was about, could he carry that nuance? And I mean, Raban isn't crazy nuanced, but the story itself is. So if you've got a bad actor in any of these roles, it's going to be noticeable.
I think they did a good job with Raban's character and that actor. I think they managed to use the thing that he's best at, for that character.
Yeah,
I was very impressed.
all of that. It was good. It was good.
Yeah, I was very impressed with all of the casting, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
when I saw originally, so I really like the guy who played Piter in the Lynch film. I can't remember his name, but I always had trouble imagining a better Piter. But
Mm.
not that they even explained who Piter was. There was no exposition,
No.
nothing. But if you knew who Piter was, the guy who played Piter was very good. Like it was very nice, creepy, like understated character.
Oh, yeah. You know the thing that really killed me about this film, though? Fucking subtitles. Didn't know
Yeah.
I was gonna have to deal with fucking subtitles in this film. It oh fuck. Now I understand, right? I understand with the hand signals and the secret message and you know what I mean, the language and all of that. That makes sense, right? And I like the way they did it, but it just meant I couldn't I couldn't see any of that shit, and it was so frustrating. But I mean, I knew I was probably gonna watch this again. So once it comes on TV or site, yeah, I'm gonna be watching this. But that was the one thing that truly bugged me because I couldn't fucking see it.
Yeah, I can understand that. Again, as a man proud of his binocular vision skills, I personally enjoyed the because one of the complaints I always had with the Lynch thing was that he stripped out all of the Atreides battle language. And like, the
Yes.
first time I ever read the book, I'd never read anything like that. And even
No.
now, there's a lot of nerdy stuff. I don't think I've come across anything that kind of riffs on that idea anywhere near as well as that book.
No,
And
it was handled so well, and you're like, that makes so much sense.
yeah,
Right?
it was
Of course,
very
you would do that. You would have that system, you know, and everyone has a different system, right? And you'd be like, yeah, of course they would. But the Benny Gesserit know them all, you know what I mean? And you just like all these different things. And I love the fact that on on the on the on the Emperor's on the Emperor's world, uh um on Seleucus Secundus. Fuck you, you water fat fucking land loving civilian. Us Fremen don't need to know that shit.
Oh, Kev. Salusa Secundus.
Fuck you. But I love the fact that they had their own language,
Yeah, it is very good.
which makes sense, right? I think there was a lot of stuff that made sense, and it's I redid the book just before I saw the film. I thought, you know what? I'd finished one book and I didn't know it was a bit ropey. It was a bit ropey. I'm gonna like, man. So I'm always looking for something new, right? And something that has potential more. I can then read after this one. So I did this one called The Grey Bastards.
Did you
It,
feature?
huh?
Did you feature in that story?
That would have made it better. But it just read to me like someone that has only just found sex. You know what I mean? Because there was a lot of, don't keep your mouth open. Someone put their cock in it. But they could use, because it's about orcs, so cock was cod. And there was just a lot of this and be like, oh, don't touch me, you're backy. So it's like, you're batty, you're gay. Yeah, and it was just so infantile. It was
Yeah.
infuriating. So I finished that and I was like, ugh, I need to cleanse my palate. Fuck it. Let me do Dune. Because I want to go see the film. So fuck, I'll do Dune. And there was so much in the book that I'd forgotten or I'd connected the dots in a different way. Right. So it's so good to re-listen to it and be like, oh yeah, fuck. That's it.
Yeah.
But as
One of the
listening
things
to it, I wondered, how are we going to do this in this film? Like, how would they do this? Because Dune, as you said, look, there's no expedition in Dune, right? And the book, everything is kind of excerpts from religious passages or Eliane's diaries and just things like that. A lot of it is led by that. We find out information by that, or extracts from the like the book we see him reading, which I forget.
Is it the Orange the Orange Catholic Bible?
No, not that one, but the book, where he's learning.
Yes.
Yes, the phone, not the phone book.
Film book.
Film book, yes. Which but yeah. So a lot of the stuff we find out through those excerpts, or the inner monologues and things like that. So it's just like, it's going to be interesting. Like, how are they going to do this, or how are they going to do that scene? You know what I mean? And so I was curious coming in. And then I'd heard that Villeneuve was saying that this Dune was kind of from Chani's point of view. So it's a bit like, okay, how are we doing this? And I was just, oh man, I was so fucking intrigued by it all. Right? It like we open up with the, the voiceover and like the kind of talk about the desert and all of this, and then we see, and then the boom, the complete flip of Caladan, right? And just all of that, and it was just like, oh, yeah, no, this is good. We saw the Harkonnens, and it's just, man, everything just seemed to work. Right, there was nothing that I thought, they ain't got that right. That's a disappointment. Everything kind of worked for me.
I know there's that thing where they say show don't tell, and I think there was a lot of showing.
Yes,
and I do think the problem with that book, to translate it to film. So they showed us mentats. We saw mentats at work.
But no explanation of who they were and what they do and their importance and all of that. Yes.
Or why they're there or anything else. And personally, I loved it because I don't need to be told what a mentat is, because I know what it is. But I would like to, so, I've got a couple of young boys. I'm really curious what they'll make of it one day when they watch it. Like to see someone sit with no sort of preconceptions, just bang, what do you think of this, lads? Like, what do you think's going on here? Because much as I love that film, I really, really like the new film. Very, very much. I wonder what it is someone watching with fresh eyes enjoys about it.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel, right, what I kind of thought about it was that there is, I think it does work on its own. But if you've read the book, it's even richer. Because you understand everything. When you see certain things, you're like, okay, yeah, I get that. I get why, Yui's betrayal is crazy. I get, the whole Fremen thing, being out in the desert with no thing. Like, I get the whole sending them to Arrakis and just all of that stuff. It makes sense. Right, you understand the mentat and shit. I can't remember fucking the what is the bad mentat's name again? Paita, yes, Paita. I get him when we see him on Secundus Secundus. You know what I mean? Like all of those things, you'd be like, yeah, of course. But yeah, if you don't know, you don't understand the importance of that stuff and how it reflects and what it means for later on in the story. But I kind of think that it does work on its own, and it's intriguing enough that I think it will draw people to the book.
I do think that one bit, I think there are a couple of little bits that maybe we could have stood for a bit more exposition on, but it's already a very long film, so I don't know how they would do it. I mean, our mutual friend Paul was obviously a big film buff, and he was saying that the director is known for not ever really doing a director's cut. That version of the film is the version of the film. There's not going to be another one, because I was thinking they didn't really explain spice, not to any significant degree. Is quite an esoteric kind of, okay, well, we're collecting this, and it seems to have turned this guy into some kind of mentalist, but we don't know why. Like, it's all quite, like, they touch on it a bit, but I feel like there might have been a bit more information that would have fleshed that out, because obviously once Paul gets control of the Imperium, it's all based on his control of the spice. Maybe we'll get more explanation of that in the second film, of course.
You know what I'm thinking, though? Because there's the HBO TV series, right? The Sisterhood, which is a look on the Bene Gesserit. And I think maybe, now I might be full of shit, right? I might not just have a misunderstanding, but I kind of feel that could be used to fill in a lot of the blanks.
Maybe.
To show the importance of the Bene Gesserit, the Mentats, who are kind of there to counter the Bene Gesserits, right? I think that series might really give us that full history.
Yeah, maybe. Like I say, I'm literally just thinking of the film in isolation.
Yes.
Not ever. So, I mean, what this makes me think of, you saying that, is episodes 1 to 3 of Star Wars kind of got massively panned by our generation. But if you watch the Clone Wars cartoons, all of a sudden, that trilogy of films is a lot better. I'm not saying it makes them brilliant or anything, but all of a sudden they become much better because that massive cartoon series fills in a lot of the gaps. And if you start making a film thinking, oh, well, the stuff we're not fleshing out here will be filled in by this thing, does that then work as a film? Because, like, those films came out, 20 odd years ago, something like that. And I saw those cartoons last year.
Well, no, but the cartoons were never, like, they were never made, like, when they were thinking of the films, there was never the intention, you know what, let's also make a cartoon series that we can then flesh out the back. The cartoon series came years later, where it's just like, what could we do? Well, everyone hates those, so why don't we, make it better, flesh out, tell stories in between. So that was that. But I think the TV series here was conceived while conceiving the film.
Okay.
So I think that's the only difference. But I do agree that something has to be able to stand on its own feet, right? You have to think that maybe, like, because the TV series is coming out on HBO Max, which, HBO Max ain't coming to England, or I think most of Europe, for years, because of pre-existing deals that Warner Brothers have and HBO has with, terrestrial TV and other stations. So not everyone will get the opportunity to see the Sisterhood. So you can't assume, all right, well, we'll make this film like this, and people will watch that, and it all makes sense. No, so it definitely, it has to stand up on its own 2 feet. And
so even things like, like the las guns on the shields?
Yeah.
So we know why they're using knives and why they're using shields and stuff. Literally no explanation. I mean, unless I missed something.
There was one thing, like, you know what I mean? Because when they're in the desert and Leah, like, she says, "Oh, I think it was like the shields will
attract the worm."
Attract the worm, and I think there was one other slight kind of comment in the film about guns and shields, but there wasn't.
Or maybe
there wasn't the. I think it was a very throwaway. Right, it was very throwaway, like, but there wasn't the kind of explanation that you get in the book, and that was with everything. There was never that. You didn't get that flesh out of, what this does and the importance of this, and these people are this, and this does this.
I just think with all the other stuff they stripped out of the film, personally, I think they could have probably stood to just not include las guns at all. So if you're not going to have the exposition of why everyone's using kind of medieval type weapons, like we saw a las gun once cutting through the door, and then when they were attacking Harikeen, you saw the Sardaukar using them on the city.
Yeah.
We could have probably done without that. We could have probably just used bombs or something and some kind of gizmo to cut through the door. Maybe.
I imagine, though, we'll probably see more of them in the next film. I did like that scene, though.
Yeah.
I really like that scene in the tomb and the las gun and all of that.
Again,
like,
but for us, it totally stands up. I'm not at all saying it doesn't make a great scene. Like, I enjoyed it, but I'm trying to imagine what it's like to see it. Like, most people haven't read the bloody book however many times, you know? Like, how many people really have read that book? I know it's a very famous book, but still.
It is one thing I am curious about, right? Because I do kind of think that maybe the thinking was coming in. I mean, probably loads of people read the book, so we don't have to explain this yet. You know, as you said, look, we might get more explanation in the second film and certain things, and in the Sisterhood, right? Because the Sisterhood's going to come out before the second film, because for some stupid fucking reason, it wasn't made back to back, which I just don't know why. It baffles me why you don't make these things back to back. Right? Because you've already greenlit the TV series. They built sets for the TV series. So it's like you're expending that money. Do the other film. You fucking weird. Like, just do it back. Because then you don't have to. Because this film blows up. And then people, you know, scheduling might not be able to get in there, or they might be like, oh, well, I mean, that made all these millions. I want my contract adjusted. You know, so you're going to get all of that. That's why Marvel were great in their business, you know, because it was like, oh, you want to be in Captain America? Okay, sign a six film deal. You know what I mean? And then you don't have to worry about, will they come back? So it is weird that they don't do this. But yeah, we will get Sisterhood. So yeah, maybe there's more explanation in those two. But I don't think it hurt it that much.
No. Like I say, I don't at all think it. There was nothing about it that I thought was bad.
No. But I mean, even if you didn't know this stuff, I don't think it necessarily hurt it. I think you might go, "Huh, what's that?" Right? You might ask a friend or go online, but I don't think your pleasure is dampened. Right? I think knowing it, your pleasure is heightened, but I don't think it's dampened.
Like I say, I'm interested to meet someone who didn't know anything about it. So, like, a couple of my swimmers are going to go and watch it. I'm really interested to see what they make of it, because they're much younger than us. They've not read it. They've got no preconceptions or anything else. I wonder what they make of it.
Yeah. Like, is there anything else that kind of really stood out for you?
Like I say, I really loved the battle language stuff. I mean, I can't really fault. I guess the only question marks I have is there was some interesting. So, you know, we never see the Emperor. We never see anything really about the Guild. So, like, you know, we see some of the highliners, but there's not
the suits they're in. Like, I thought the costumes, right? The uniforms, the ceremonial costumes, like that whole. Because I don't believe it's in the book. Right, the trait when they come to a trait at Caladan and be like the scroll, and it's just like, you are now you stamp it with your ring, and like I don't believe that's in the book. I think it's just they get a note, but it's not this big ceremony. But I love that. right? And you just saw like the guild members in the big, what's that for Daft Punk helmet? And then you saw, like, I mean, there was the royal contingent in the black helmets with the weird early things, and I just thought that was great. And then when they arrived on when they arrived on Arrakis, and like Jessica is in the orange, and Leto, they're in the more kind of army type uniforms. How that looks slick as fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the girls behind holding the veil shit. I thought that was great.
One thing I thought was brilliant that they did actually, how they kind of got across the mission area protectiva.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yeah. There were some bits that kind of they added in, because in the book it's expedition, but they have people say it. You know what I mean? But I still thought, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Right? I like that. Right. When because it's hard, you don't want to ruin and give spoilers, but when Marshebs,
Shout out, mates.
yeah, when her fucking shut up, mates. When she gives that, I love that. Because it was the reverie and all of that. And it's just like, oh. And that was the thing, right? Because the score of this film, man, right? I think where Lynch is experimental, I would say. This is very themic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it really, there's chanting. Like in the visions Paul has, we get the chanting kind of, you know what I mean? That Gregorian chant kind of rhythm. And there's a slight tonal shift. You know what I mean? It really worked. Love that. And there's no music in the film, which is great. Because I don't need Celine Dion, you know what I mean? My desert is white, my desert is far. Like, we don't need that. I don't need a fucking theme song like that. You know what I mean? But what we got, I dug that. I dug that song. You know what I mean? It worked. Because it just built the atmosphere, man. It built the atmosphere, but it didn't do it in that way that I hate, where it's just like boom, boom, boom. Oh, scary moment, happy moment. You know what I mean?
I think one of the only bits that did slightly jar me was, that funny little creature that was in the Baron Harkonnen's room.
I didn't know what the fuck that was.
No, not that. So, like what you were just saying about Lynch being more experimental. So, I really love the scene in Lynch's film with the Guild Navigator. I've always liked that scene.
Yeah.
And obviously, there was nothing really like that in this film. And it seems weird that the director of this one, that felt like that was the one little risky bit that he chucked in, and it was like a little dog in a gimp suit, and it's like, okay, that's an odd thematic choice. I wonder what led to that, because I don't remember anything like that.
Spider.
Maybe it was.
I might be wrong, because I did realize as this film started, I think my eyesight's got so much worse. Like, because I got to the cinema and I was feeling shit all day, and I had because I was meant to be going somewhere else and I got lost. I went the wrong way and I ended up, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to cinema. So I went to cinema, and so I've got a headache, and I rushed. I got there so just as the last trailers were going on. So I was like, okay, so I didn't miss the film, but I took my glasses off. And I'm like, oh try and rest my eyes a little. And so as the film starts, and I think some white writing came on the screen. Oh, there was no clarity. It was just a complete blur. And before there was at least a little clarity, I was like, oh no. So I'm just going in to watch this film. I've really been like looking forward to, because going, oh, I think I'm getting blinder. Oh, shit.
Wow.
And that was a bit sad. But so yeah, maybe it was a dog, because I don't even know what the truth is right now. I might be speaking to Emily. I don't even fucking know. I don't even know.
I don't know if it was a dog. It was something on all fours, and it had shiny PVC leathery stuff on, and then presumably it's sentient because it understood the Reverend Mother telling it to leave.
Yeah.
So don't know what that's all about.
Because I didn't see the shiny. Yeah, I thought it was like Shalob, from the fucking Hobbit. I hear it's a big spider.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, so maybe I missed something. But that's my memory of it. Like, I could be wrong, but that's what I thought.
But I mean, a gimp would kind of make sense with the Baron, because when you're reading the book, like I was kind of thinking, are they going to include the homoeroticness? Like, because you're reading the book and you're like, oh, the Baron definitely fiddled Fayeed and Raban. He's definitely fiddled them. Fuck.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so it's a bit like, like, is that going to be shown?
I just said now he has his gimp dog to deal with instead. So that's something. I must say, I did really like how they did the Baron. I thought it was very good.
Oh my god! Because yes, I think that's the thing, right? Because in the book he's described as this, huge grotesque thing on the suspenders and all of that, and it's just like in Lynch, it's a bit more comical. He's kind of bobbling around all the place and all of that. I forget the Sci-Fi Channel one. I know he was big. They had him.
I don't know what his name is, but he was in Rome as well.
Yeah.
The TV series Rome.
Yes, he was an English guy. Yeah.
He's also in the New Foundation. If you've seen any of that. He's only in it. He's a little cameo. He's not in it for much, but he's just one who's got. I know he's a very famous actor. I just can't remember what his name is.
Yeah. No,
but yeah,
I'm waiting for a link for the Foundation stuff.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think if anything, maybe the Baron in the new film is not as corpulent and disgusting as he should be, because obviously, do you know why he's all fat and disgusting? Do you know the story of that from the?
Yeah. It's in House Harkonnen, which is interesting, right? Because he tried to rape and she gave him a little payback.
Yeah, but it's that thing, isn't it? Again, it's a stylistic choice. Like he's a bigger guy, but what I liked about it is that they've kind of covered up with these very long robes and stuff. Like they've still left a lot to the imagination with it,
And you do see the ripples, like when he moves his neck, you kind of see like the kind of flesh kind of ripple. Like there was that.
Yeah, no, it's very nicely done.
Yeah,
and I don't really have any flaws with it.
Yeah, and the big robes, yeah, that makes sense, because you don't want everyone to be seeing just the bulges. So like it would make sense to wear the robes. You know what I did really love? The the payback scene, let's call it, with the tooth.
Yes.
Because you do kind of feel, I know you say with the shield and all of that, but come on. It always seemed that the Baron must have, I can't believe the Baron suffered nothing from that. So I love the way they played that scene now in the film. I thought, oh, that's great. And then when you see fucking Raban, and it's like, ooh, and then when he kind of, and you're like, oh, that looks so fucking good. That looks so good.
Are we talking about the black bath stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
No, I must like he did make some very good stylistic choices. I think like he's really made some good choices that go outside the source material.
Oh,
Like it's not as brave as some of the stuff Lynch did, but then again, Lynch kind of got lynched for it, didn't he? So maybe the right thing to do.
But I think if Lynch hadn't of like I think if Lynch's was crazy, right? And it
I'd like to
really
know why Lynch
veers
did the
away from the
gun thing.
book. Huh?
I'd like to know why Lynch did the gun thing. I'd
That was
really like to know.
yeah. Because I kind of feel well, I've got an idea why, but I might be wrong, right? But I think if he didn't do the gun thing, I think it would have been received a bit better from Dune fans. You know what I mean? But I kind of feel he probably did the gun thing because when you think about when that film was made and technology at the time, like, I mean, look at this one, how the voice is visualized. And I thought, oh, that's done really well.
Yeah.
Right, and the still suits, not the still suits, the shields, and we see the shimmer, and that visually it works so well. You know what I mean? But back then, you couldn't do any of that kind of stuff. So it was just like, ugh, how am I gonna visualize this stuff? Let's just give them guns. That's an easier way of visually showing this thing. Hold a thing and go, which is just like, wait, what the fuck are they doing?
His name is a killing word, Kev. That is all you need to know. I think that is one thing I would say about Lynch. He might have gone like off script a bit, but I think a lot of his things were very nicely done. You know, like it
Yeah.
added some good stuff to it.
I mean, I did like the box in Lynch's one,
Yeah.
but then I didn't like. I heard someone told me that like the box in this one is kind of just him without just going, but it's not though. Right, so I was expecting this weak scene, but I think the scene because I think now, if I'm correct, like if I'm remembering right, because my memory is so fucking bad, man. But in the book, he puts his hand in and he recites the litany, right? Fear is the mind bringer. Without fear, I'm a weirdo, and then with fear, I'm great. Right? He says that.
Exactly the litany again.
Yeah, verbatim, verbatim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But having Jessica do it and then cut in between, I love that because you really saw her. I think Ferguson did a great job of showing her submissiveness, her hatred, you know what I mean, to the mother superior. And she's outside just like, you could see she's racked with what have I done?
I've
But
got to
I
tell
couldn't
you,
say no.
you've just reminded me. I do have one complaint about the film. I'd forgotten. Yeah.
Ooh.
So when I came out the cinema, actually, because I saw it last week, so it got a little bit fuzzy. My one complaint. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just checking. This isn't going to give a spoiler to anyone. I don't think it does now. So Bene Gesserit again. There's no exposition of this in the film really, but we know that the whole kind of, well, not the point of them, but one of their main features is they have total control over their body.
Yes.
They can control the internal chemistry, every muscle. They have ultimate control over themselves. So why does Jessica keep blubbing around the place and acting like a woman from Mills and Boone book? You know, like she cried a couple of times. I'm like, that's not Jessica.
I mean, I will say yes. There is maybe a bit too much crying from Jessica, but I do think maybe it's there because she is different from the other Bene Gesserit, right? Like she's in love with
She is,
Ito, right? And I think that is the big separation. She's in love with Leto. She rebelled by giving him a son rather than a daughter.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I think maybe it's to show the humanity, right?
Maybe that was the only way they could show her in a struggle. Maybe it was,
Yeah.
but I did sort of think in the context of this modern era, having someone who, for me, is like one of my favorite female protagonists from a novel. Like she's a very strong, tough character. Like
Yeah.
as the books go on as well, she becomes more so. And then having her in there, I don't know.
But right, they
Hmm.
then did give her something that wasn't in the book, right? In the Fopter. Because it's Paul, but in the film it's her.
That's true. Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So we see her kick ass, and then the fight, and then towards the end of the film, we see her do a thing. So we know she's strong, right? And then even like remember in the tent with Paul, there is the moment, and he claps back at her,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then she's still, you know what I mean? Like, listen, look, I understand, but you're my son. Come here, little motherfucker.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So we still see that strength in her.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I thought that the lady who played it was brilliant, really good.
Mm.
But it just felt for me
A little bit too
slightly,
emotional.
yeah, just a
Yeah.
little bit. At the end of the day, she's still a Bene Gesserit. Yeah, she's in love, but she is still an incredible, like she's an incredible everything. Like she's super clever. She's super athletic and in control, and like she doesn't let slip her emotions and controls that easily, I suppose, is my thing. Thinking of that,
Yes.
one of the omissions that I thought was quite interesting was how they stripped out all of the intrigue with the
Yeah,
Fenrir.
that's what when I left you a message after I came
Mm.
out. Because yes, I did think that was interesting. Because like in the book, it's there is that kind of spy element at the beginning, right? And the whole which does what I mean is all the way through the book. Really, we have the intrigue and the people trying to throw the scent off, and maybe it was this or maybe it was that, and bum bum bum. And yeah, that was gone.
But I mean, if you remember as well in the book, there's the whole bit where there's a special part of the palace on Arakin where there's like a
The
like
garden.
yeah, garden, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a message in there from Lady Fenring or
Yes.
Fenring, I can't remember what her name is, but that whole thing I always thought was interesting because it gives what I always felt it gave you a sense of the sisterhood is everywhere,
Yes.
and they
And
are very much their own thing.
well, yeah, and even though they are might be with different houses and different things, the sisterhood oversees everything.
Yeah,
Which
yeah, yeah.
I think we do get that kind of thing. You know, when Leto says to Jessica, "Will you protect our son?"
Very true. Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it's just like, no, them.
yeah, yeah.
And she does do that woman thing where it's not like, oh, give me a hug. Be like, bitch, you haven't answered me. You know what I mean? Like there was no answer. You're just like, give me a hug. Why you be so silly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I think there was a lot of that stuff that they did very, very well. But like I said,
Yes.
it was the crime thing. It just jarred me a little bit. Like not anything.
I know what you mean because I'm like, yo, you're giving too much water, kid. What are you doing?
Yeah,
But I think they added steel to her in other places. Yeah, I mean, so because I did wonder about that watching, but then I was like, but okay, but then, as I said, with the Fopter and these other bits, they've given her that steel, so you still won't look at this character and think, bit
yeah,
weak,
yeah.
right? So you'd be saying, oh no, still formidable, formidable, right? But yeah, it was interesting some of the movements that were made, right? Some of the things that we see, some of the conversations, like when they get to Arrakis, Leia, right? Leia is never mentioned in connection with Kynes, like
Mm.
out in the open like that. But in this, it's, hey, Leia Kynes, how are you doing? Where Leia is the Fremen name, the secret name.
Yeah, I suppose in the, if you really cut into it, though, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
I mean, it doesn't in the way they played it, right? Because they shifted a few things, so it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's the thing with Leah at the very end in the book, you know, and the way they shifted it in this, I was a bit like, but I mean, but then when it was just like, I like, oh, okay, I like that, I like that. Okay, you're good, you're good.
Well, so obviously, I don't like heights, and that scene really made me uncomfortable. Like when
Yeah,
the conclusion of that kicked in, it
yeah,
was it was a very, very good piece of cinema.
yeah.
Like, I don't think you would have got that feeling watching it on a small screen.
No,
Like,
no.
it is a
The
film that really
vastness
thinks.
of this
Mm.
was, oh, I did like that, right? I did like the, yeah, because I think in the other iterations, right, in the palaces and all of that, it is confined, but this, it was vast. When you see, and I don't know if you felt this, but it felt like there was a lot of Middle Eastern cultural kind of references in here. You know what I mean? Like when you see Arrakis, it does speak of like ancient Egypt.
You got to remember, Herbert initially he was very influenced by Islam, wasn't he, in the writing of the whole thing? Like that is what a lot of all this stuff is based on.
Well, yes, because like Muad'Dib, and the language, like the public name, the our name, and just all of these things like tea service and just coffee service in there. Yeah, so yeah, there's all these different elements, right, that you can take out of like Islam and just Middle Eastern culture, right? And so I love, and because that was the thing I love about Dune, that it's more about the geological um sensibilities and how an ecosystem might affect a cultural system, right? I loved all of that, and then to kind of see it, right? Because we see the water world of Caladan, then we go straight to Gidi Prime, and I love the way Gidi Prime is depicted. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
that whole there's a word for,
contrast,
huh?
contrast.
I mean but I was thinking there's another word, and I can't think of what it is, but there's a word for something and then something else that is very different. But you know, I feel the listeners,
Polarized,
huh?
polarized.
No, it's not the word.
I'm
It's
sorry, I
another
don't know
word.
your words, Kev. I'm very sorry.
It's the only reason you're here. It's the only fucking reason you're here. You're a failure, motherfucker.
My
Right,
wife
we
said
go with contrast. All right, are you happy? We'll go with contrast.
nothing could make me happier.
But yeah, the contrast between Caladan and then Gidi Prime, I thought that was very smart to show that. And then also then throw Arrakis in there. So you see these different worlds, and then like how is that affecting these people? Right. So we see the Atreides, very righteous, very noble, the Harkonnen, very cold and calculating and fucking nasty. Then you see the Fremen, who are just like, oh, it is what it is, motherfucker.
The
Yeah, I
guy
mean,
who
it's your
plays
order.
Stilgar is very good. I can't remember
Oh
his.
shit, yeah. I was interested about um the mix, let's say, how that might fall out. Because you know what I mean? it's like Lynch's is very, you know, and even the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah, I think there's you see kind of because I think that was made in Egypt,
What
right?
mix are we talking? So are we talking ethnicity?
Yeah,
Right. Sorry.
right. And so in you know, in the Sci-Fi Channel one, you did see kind of Egyptian, Turkish looking people in some of the roles, right? It's more some of the background characters than the main people, obviously, right? So it's just like, all right, what are we gonna do with this? Because the one thing about Dune, right, you always kind of feel it should be a very multicultural thing because the Bene Gesserits are all about that breeding program. You know what I mean? So if you're all about a breeding program, everyone's gonna be a bit mixed up, you know? So it's just a bit like, all right, are we gonna see that? And I think, yeah, I think there was a bit of a mix, right? There was a bit of a diverse mix in the film, and I did like the Fremen weren't just all white, right? But Stilgard clearly is um shit. What like Iraq, you know, Iran, like those parts
Yeah, I
of the
don't
world.
know.
Huh?
I don't know, but he's not a white middle class chap, is he? So
No,
there's
but he looked kind of. I wanted to say Arabian, but I'm just like I don't even think that's a thing, right? But he looked like he's from that part, the Middle East. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Which I thought, no, that's good, right? Because it's that whole Jesus thing. Be like, motherfucker supposedly lives in a desert place, and he's fucking lily white. Really? Really, motherfuckers. Like you hey, if you want to say Father Christmas is white, that's fine. This motherfucker lives in Antarctica. He's fucking penguins on his off time. That's cool. But yo, put
It
someone
is what
in.
white people do, I find.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's how I spend my downtime.
You know what I mean? You talk to anyone from Scandinavia, right? They've got
Mm.
their little penguin in the closet. You know what I mean? They bring him out for parties. You know what I mean? That's their key party,
I usually
right?
let mine roam free,
Yeah.
communal use.
But you know, what I mean? In a desert world, Lily White gets burnt like a motherfucker.
Mm.
So I like the fact that the Fremen weren't. There was a mix in the Fremen
Yeah,
because you know I don't want black all the time. It doesn't have to be black. I just want diversity, right? And diversity that makes sense.
as long as the ruling houses are white, I think that's the main thing.
Fucking Harkonnen scum. Oh, poor Gus. Yes. Yeah, no, so I thought that all made I like that. What did you think about the Janice incident, let's say?
Yeah, fine.
Because
Like,
it is different than in the book.
is it? I can't quite remember.
Because in the film they fight in their still suits.
Do you know one of the bits I always like in the book actually is that Paul takes his shoes off because he's fighting on unknown ground, and that's what Gurney taught him to do.
Yes. Yeah. And so we don't get that. Because you remember, there's the whole thing is then the water rights afterwards because you fought without a still suit, so you get the water and just all of that. And like that whole tradition, it makes sense and it is a thing, right? Because you think about the ancient Olympics
Yeah, yeah. I just
and
think it's
all of
one of
that.
those things. There must have been a whole plethora of little bits that might have only added a minute to the film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You know,
no, so
and not.
it doesn't ruin it, right? How they played it out, I loved. And especially with the ah! You know what I mean? Like, oh shit. You know, there's a bit in the middle of the film, which again I can't reference too much, but did you feel like the Atreides were kind of like fucking Samoans or Aztec or the hackers visiting the fight, and it was like so like that probably might have turned that bit down. Like that might have hurt eardrums there. My bad. Weren't thinking. Yeah, what can you do? You know what I mean? What can you do? We're talking Dune, people. There's no rhythm here. Hot up and spice.
But yeah, no, there was some. I did like how medieval and tribal they made it in a futuristic setting.
Bagpipes.
Yeah, the bagpipe thing was a. It was a, it was a bit askew.
No, it does kind of make you think Robert the Bruce, an impossible battle and all of that kind of thing, right? Which kind of the Atreides were in by getting sent to fucking Arrakis. So I'm like, I know, aesthetically and thematically, it works for me. Right?
It did.
And that was a thing. So we saw line that.
I wish they'd have included the line about moods and cattle.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it's a good line. It's probably a good thing that they did cut it, but I really like that line.
Oh, I love the bit though with Paul and Duncan when he's like, Duncan, don't go, and he's like, don't worry, man. Like the real shit happens in the real world, and then he's just like, don't worry. Oh, what's that? Muscle? He's like, you've been working out? Do you think so? No. I was to say, right? I went to a late night screening where oftentimes people make noise because they've been out drinking beforehand. Everyone was mad respectful in the cinema, man. No one made a noise, apart from me. I laughed my ass off when he said that. It was just like in stage, and there was another point in the film. I'm just laughing, and no one else is making a noise, and I'm just feeling eyes on me, and I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm laughing, motherfucker, because I can't turn this off. There's no switch for this shit. It just happens.
I believe you.
But yeah, no. Because some of that stuff not in the book, right? Some of those interchanges not in the book, but worked, right? Worked to kind of, because the Duncan thing was a vision, but that conversation visualizes the vision, and so it was like finding these ways to kind of get through some of that expedition. But I was like, yeah, I'm cool with that, man. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Like even the hunter seeker, right? Very different, but still worked. Still worked very well.
I did like that scene. It was nicely done.
Yeah.
Like with the hologram and
yeah,
how it all panned out. It was very nice. Like there's some really, really beautiful touches to that film.
Oh my gosh, visually outstanding. Like outstanding. You know what I mean? I just loved the space that was given. Right, when you saw them like land on Arrakis and the vastness of the desert and just everything like that, when we saw inside these castles and how big it was, it reminded me of, and I mean, you wouldn't have seen it yet because it's not out, but Tragedy of Macbeth. Is that again very vast, especially for Macbeth. But I like that. It just really, it added that coldness and the steerness to things, which I thought worked so well. When we saw them in the geological spot, right? Again, that whole sequence, right? The tunnels, and I thought that was so good. I feel that works so well, and just the way, because when we've seen pyramids, right? And they show you, because like you think every time you talk to someone, one of these archaeologists that fucks around in pyramids, they'd be like, so fucking deceptive. Like you go in there and you're thinking, all right, it's gonna be a small room, and it's fucking huge, right? And then you move up, and a room that's higher up is bigger than the one from down, and it's like, wait, how is that? That makes no sense. What the fuck are they doing here? And that's kind of what we were seeing with some of this stuff. And it was just like, yo, I mean, just the way when they're in Arrakis and it's like, shut it, we got to close it off. It's the sun's coming up. But it was all very mechanical, which I loved, right? Because, and again, you only understand it because you've read the book, but it's the whole machines and the dislike of machines. So a lot of the stuff is all very physical and, manual, rather than, oh, Siri, shut the windows for me. Okay, Chuki, let's do it. You know what I mean? We don't get that. And I love that aspect of it,
Did they mention the Great Convention in the film?
I don't think they do.
No.
We hear the Lamfrad, but not the Great. I don't believe we hear the Great Convention. But I kind of feel, with how the rest of that book happens, there's enough leeway to kind of put it in that part.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it'd just be interesting to see how they do broach it. I imagine a lot of the stuff we're talking about, they'll have to introduce the guild better in the next film. They'll have to talk about the Emperor. They'll have to explain the spice. I imagine that they'll at least have to touch on the Butlerian stuff.
I would suspect, but I kind of like that we don't see it yet, because it's kind of like the thing where you only see it at the very end. So it's like an alien, right? Because we don't really see the alien until the very end of the film, and so it makes it that much more like, whew.
I mean, again, I know I already mentioned Star Wars, but if you go back to the first stop, like A New Hope, we didn't know anything about anything that was going on there.
No,
very true. Take it, and it didn't stop that from becoming an unbelievable juggernaut. Like whether you love it or hate it, it's so entrenched in the Western kind of pop culture.
Well, yeah, it changed the face of film.
Yeah, and you just
know what I mean? And the way film deals were made, merchandising was done, it just revolutionized all of that. So you gotta, just pay.
But it didn't really explain itself. Like none of it really explained itself, and I just think we ask a lot of films sometimes to explain stuff, and then when they explain stuff, we then moan.
Why did they have to just go into so much detail?
Yeah.
You get that sometimes. Yeah, it is a knife edge that you walk with storytelling, and I would say Villeneuve did do a good job. Because as I said, maybe because I've seen it. I mean, I've read the book that I'm not fully able to put myself in those shoes, but I do kind of feel that even without reading the book, you can still watch this and go, yo, this is good, right? And it would intrigue me to go, oh, what does that mean? Like, let me look that up. Because there's films which, I'll watch it and I'll be like, oh, what was that? And maybe like, oh, okay. Especially stuff that's based on a series or something like that. Because I didn't read the Star Wars books or comics or anything like. And the amount of times I'd ask you, be like, "Oh, what the fuck is that? What does that mean?"
At the end of the day, even Lynch's Dune was quite heavy on exposition and still didn't cover everything because there's so much to cover. Yeah. So maybe you're better off just like leaving people to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's a good tease for the second one, right? Because now that second one isn't coming until 2023, which is infuriating.
Yeah,
Because
it's a
that's the thing.
shame.
I'm like, you be smart, and it'd be like Lord of the Rings, right? So every fucking Christmas we get a next one. So like this time next year we get part 2. But now gonna have to wait, and it's a thing because yes, the Sisterhood will be out by 2022, but are we gonna be able to see it? You know what I mean? Like depending where you live, so it's a bit like having to wait that long. It's gonna be a bit like, but I think the way the film did roll, it definitely enticing me from I don't know what the fuck's gonna go down next. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was good.
I mean,
Very
did you
good.
think that was a logical spot to leave it at?
One of the things that really blew me away about that film was there was a couple of bits in it that I thought that they had done their own thing, and then afterwards I realised, oh no, that is actually how the book goes. It really surprised me that I'd misremembered a couple of
Yeah.
bits. So yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. Like it has to be cut somewhere, right? And if you go much further than that point, you're then opening up a whole other can of worms for people like me to annoyingly go, oh well, they didn't explain this or like you've got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was quite a nice, yeah, I think it was quite a nice way to tie it up.
Yeah. It feels because after that we kind of go into the next transition. So it seemed like, yeah, okay, let's stop here. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't even sure if we would see the Janice thing in this one.
I just wonder if they're going to fast forward. There's like a time jump in the book.
Well, yes, because it at the very beginning he's 15, but then it kind of goes because that's the thing. I forgot, right? In my head, like before I redid the book, I kind of felt that this all happened fairly close to each other. You know what I mean? Maybe over 2, 3 years, something like that. But it then jumps kind of 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh, I remember reading it and it was like, oh shit, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they deal with that because obviously the end of this film, it feels like it would make sense to have that time jump come
Yes.
at the start of the new film. But then I don't
We
know if they can
start.
possibly do that because then you're going to miss out on a lot of other stuff, like the worm riding, Alia, all this stuff coming along.
Well, I mean, you could, right? So you could start 10 years and then have something that kind of causes maybe a vision or something to then, go
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So
I
maybe,
mean,
but yeah, I am curious to know where are they picking up from? Like, you know what I mean? Like what is going to feed. I mean, there's so much stuff we will see in this, other film. Because we didn't see Count Fenris, right? Because it was like because in the book, because the Harkins had Arrakis, but then the Fenrises had Arrakis, right? And then the Fenrises gave it up to the Atreides. But here we just see Harkonnens to Atreides, which I'm not mad at because I mean that when Fufi, he's like oh, I found their books, right? That's all in the book, right? So it makes sense not to have the Fenrises, but you know what I mean? Like we see the Fenrises early, but so they're still to come. So there is that, and we haven't seen Fayed yet.
maybe they won't get included at all.
I mean, maybe. Right? It's not technically like if you were to take them out, you still have the story.
Yeah.
You know, because there's
I
the
reckon we've got some.
interplay with Fiade and them, and there's some bits and bobs, but it's kind of, you could say it's aesthetic rather than substantial.
I'm interested to see who they have as Fade.
Yes. Yeah, because I don't know if that was it's been announced or anything like that. But yeah, and because I did think Sting made a good fade.
It is.
Yeah.
Who knew? But yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued, and yeah, I was happy with what I saw. Oh, can I just say, love the ships.
Yeah.
Love the ships.
I
Like
like
it
that.
wasn't just that typical spaceship look, you know?
I like where the Atreides kept their ships as well.
Oh yeah. How it came up. I was like, but how do you get it there? That's
How
gonna
do
be
you
one
get up?
fucked up room. You know what I mean? There's a little cleanup. Be like, oh motherfucker. You know what I mean? The poor fucking cleaner. Be like, "Ah, they're back. Fucking hell. Get your galoshes.
Yeah. Like, how do you get out of the ship once you've parked it? What are you doing? Awkward.
And I like there's a bit when we see a ship coming down and the way the legs come out of it. Oh man, I thought that was fucking.
Yeah.
Visually, oh man, that looks so good.
Yeah.
There is some weird egg-shaped ships. It was just we saw all these different styles, and it wasn't like, oh, you've taken that from that, and oh, that's clearly taken from that. It was like it felt very of itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Fucking foxes, man.
Mm.
Because in the book they describe like dragonfly, and it really fucking looked like dragonfly. Oh man, I was so happy about the foxes, son.
Yeah, they were nice. Really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't this one? It was like Lord of the Rings. I thought
Yeah.
visually, right, when I saw Lord of the Rings, I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I pictured it. Right? I can't fault this. Right? The only thing that I thought the Ents was taller. I thought the Ents would be taller. But other than that, visually, Lord of the Rings killed it. And yeah, Dune, I said visually,
Yeah.
killed it. I mean, Leah looked even better than I thought. I was like, okay, I ain't disappointed, right? Test my water. And I am looking forward to see Shalabi, Shoo, Shalabi, Shalu, Shahadub, Shad. I'd like to see a worm. I'd like to see the full worm. I'm looking forward to it.
Shai-Hulud.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, what we've seen so far looked very impressive. I mean, like, again, it's a film that kind of demands to be seen in the cinema, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yes.
it's only going to look really impressive in the cinema. Or unless you're
And the
loaded
sound,
and you've got your own cinema
right?
room.
I think visually and sound wise,
Yes.
you want to see this on a big screen
Yeah.
because the way the sound kind of embeds itself into these scenes, it is so impressive. So impressed. Like it just really gives you that atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like just the chanting and just everything. It just works so well. Oh my gosh, it
Yeah.
really did. It really did. So yeah, I mean, I'm fucking looking forward to to it. Hans Zimmer did do the music.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, a very different Zimmer piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sound wise, right?
I mean, I'm no film buff, am I? I couldn't tell you.
I mean, yeah, I do think when you look at Zimmer's stuff, yeah, it was very good. It was very good. Fuck! I forgot it. Right, no, I just went on Wikipedia to see who did the thing, and it was like it says Zimmer avoided watching Lynch's Dune as not to be influenced by Toto. And I forgot the music in that one, and it just came back. Imagine the fucking Atreides landing on Arrakis. Gonna find another way to carry on. Oh, oh fuck. Oh fuck. Woo! Hi. I think we talked June.
I think we have covered Dune. Very good to see you, sir.
Huh?
I said it was very good to see you.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, we will. I mean, well, yeah, we'll break down part 2. You know, if you're still alive. You know what I mean?
Well, at least it now gives me something to live for.
And Em and Gus, it was just like, damn it.
Yeah, that's what they got me insured for, right?
But our people, that is, yeah, that's the talk of June. You know what I mean? Remember, go check out the review. And, on Echoes from the Void, we get into the book as well. So it's a bit of a June week, people. So have fun. That's me and Fishboy out.